And that I shall. Hades 1 is one of my favorite video games of all time, probably in my top 10. My retrospective 2020 Game of the Year, and honestly, my favorite video game of the whole decade so far. When I first played it back in 2021, it changed the way I thought of roguelikes. It made me realize how great and how fulfilling and how meaningful that genre can be when I played Hades. That no matter what happened, no matter how much you sucked at it, the game will continue to go on in really rich and rewarding ways. And then they announced the sequel, Hades 2. Now, when this game was first announced, I didn't really think much of it, simply because I couldn't imagine any ways that they could have it live up to the legacy of the first game. I also didn't like how they put it in early access. It's been in early access for like a year and a half now. This does not change the way I think of early access as a business concept. I still think it's stupid. But Hades 2 was finally released in full access last month, late September. And after playing it for a really extensive amount of time on my Nintendo Switch Lite, I can say with all confidence that Hades 2 is the best game I've played all year. Now, I'm gonna try to not make this review terribly long. I just want to summarize it a little bit. Hopefully by the end of it my mouth isn't frothing like when Peter Griffin got his dick bitten by Homer Simpson. Hades 2 takes place about 2 decades after the first game, I presume. You play as Melinoe, princess and witch of the Crossroads and the Underworld, who is Hades' daughter and the first game's protagonist Zagreus' baby sister. And your main goal is to stop your grandfather, Kronos, the Titan of Time, for doing all sorts of evil, corrupt shit to the realm of the underworld, including taking your father Hades hostage and trapping both your mother and brother in time. So it's actually more of a rescue tale than a revenge story. Much like the first game, the central theme of Hades 2 ultimately boils down to breaking the cycle of violence, family abuse, and learning the value of forgiveness. Now, a lot of players are up in arms about how the game ended, but I'm not one of them. Sure, perhaps the execution could have been better. The 180 plot twist we see from reversing time and patching up old wounds does happen pretty fast, but by the time the credits rolled at the end of it, I was still very satisfied with how things turned out in the end. Perhaps there should have been a choice, one important enough to warrant 2 full playthroughs where you can choose whether to spare and forgive Kronos or still end him for good. But honestly, if that were the case, I'd still probably would have spared him as family the first playthrough. Because that's the one that fits the theme of the first game, mending a broken, estranged family back together regardless of the damage that's been done. But besides that, the writing and lore building itself is just excellent, and Logan Cunningham still delivers as voicing the narrator, among many other characters.
Within the sopping, blackest pits of Oceanus reside horrors that the greatest mortal or immortal poets could not possibly describe.
Don't sell yourself short, Homer.
Go!
And I just love all the different cast of characters in this one as well. Nemesis is the one that often likes to compete with Melinoe in an attempt to determine which one is truly more worthy and capable of taking down Kronos. She is also known to leave you with only one exit, but if you're fast enough, you can cut her off and beat her to the punch. Sorry, sister, I gotta hit the shop more than you do. And yes, Charon is still here, and his shop is always open to you, giving you useful items to help you survive further down the line. This game also has relationship levels with each character that can be increased by giving various appropriate gifts at the time once per run. And this also helps the story progress over time like it did in the first game. Heracles is in this game, not to be confused with Hercules. Yeah, I know. You must be very disappointed! A couple of these people are really hilarious and offer quality comedy relief to the game, like Dionysus, the god of wine and partying, with an Austin Powers accent and a very Tarzan bulge. My favorite one of them all, though, has got to be Narcissus, the god of what I can only assume is narcissism. He thinks he's impossible to resist and that all the ladies want him, but also plays hard to get. His voice acting and attitude is hilarious.
It was one of the classics. Acting all too mirror. Well, I know what you really want, and you're not getting it. Just this. Back, huh? Sometimes I wonder, what would it have been like were I not so unbelievably attractive? Some things would have been easier. Not having everybody fall in love with me. Maybe arithmetic.
You're concerned that you're too winsome for your own good. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't find you particularly attractive.
Oh, I know you don't mean that. Though I appreciate you trying to comfort me, as a friend. Soon it'll just be you and me again. And all those shades back there.
Pardon the interruption, Narcissus. Were you just speaking to your own reflection there?
They're always quick to judge, aren't they? Look, Laurel or whatever your name is, you'll never understand what I've got. Don't even try.
Nothing from Hades 1 has been diluted in Hades 2. Nothing at all. Everything that was so rich and deep about that game is still intact here. The story is still woven through and unraveled after each failed run throughout the game. It still has the popular God Mode accessibility tool that increases your defense by 2% all the way up to 80 after each death, something that is essential for those like me who typically prefer a more casual but still slightly challenging experience these days. All the stuff you find and collect outside of the Crossroads hub you carry over beyond death to unlock various upgrades or purchases. You'll visit the Cauldron, often to cook up different incantations to unlock even more gameplay aspects, like the Shopkeeper, or being able to unlock different versions of each weapon. Speaking of weapons, your arsenal's variety is every bit as strong as Zagreus's, and a couple of them in particular do take some time to get used to and eventually master. You start off with the staff, which can be used to pull off standard charge attacks, and then you got the dual blades, which you can use to turn into throwing knives, which cover a wide area, and it's super fun. The dual torches act as your first ranged weapon, where you shoot green, homing fireballs and can activate defensive orbs that gravitate around you. This has actually become one of my personal favorite weapons. The Great Axe can be a powerful weapon, but its weight makes your attacks especially slow, something that sort of works against the fast-paced nature of the game's combat. Don't get me wrong though, I still often have fun with it due to its crushing special moves like the crazy spin attack, perfect for crowd control, and having a boon to help with the basic attacks like, say, Poseidon's pushback splash really helps. And then, much later on, you'll acquire the Skull of Argent, which fires up to 4 skulls as the basic move, or 1 charged up AoE hit as a special. This is by far the hardest one to get used to, as you need to actually dash towards where they land to recollect them and reload. Probably my least favorite of Milenoi's weapons, but there are certain weapon upgrades you can get in a run to make it easier. Like there's one that allows the skulls to come back to you automatically, so you can just fire continuously while dodging attacks. Lastly, there are these boxing gloves that deliver light but extremely rapid melee attacks. The fun thing about this weapon, it can fire homing missiles. For some reason. New to this game are hexes and casting, which, to be honest with you guys, I never really felt the need to use them, at least in God mode, but they're still really cool to have. My personal favorite is the one where you get to slow time down. I love all the different locales in this one even more than in the original. There's this one area called the Fields of Morning that is somewhat non-linear in nature, where you get to pick and choose which obstacle you want to face first. The best new thing about Hades 2 to me, though, is that you now get 2 different regions with their own unique threat. Kronos controlling the underworld, and a new threat wreaking havoc across Mount Olympus on the surface. And boy, do I love the surface levels. The first one is like this port town with a center square, which, similar to the Fields of Morning, you get to fully explore and choose which 5 branching paths you want to take, complete with a map layout. And then the next level are a group of pirate ships you use to cross the sea to reach Mount Olympus. This is so fucking awesome. The whole second half of this game is something I didn't even think it could be a possible idea that would work when I played the first Hades. And it also really showcases just how beautiful these games' art styles really are. Man, the bosses are something else entirely. There are 8 main bosses in the game, and I love fighting them all. There's not one of them that feels remotely different from another. They all function uniquely different. At times, these encounters break the standard routine and offer almost rhythm-like moments that can make the game feel sometimes like a platformer. I love how when you try to pause the game during the Kronos boss, the god of time himself will break the 4th wall and acknowledge the player.
Excuse me? Time does not stop at your behest, it only stops at mine. Oh, but by all means, go attend whatever urgent matter requires you to put our clash on hold, you laggard.
To the bathroom!
By all means, take all the time that you require.
There are also various mini-boss challenges to take on throughout your runs, like King Vermin, a super powerful rat who also made an infamous appearance in the original. The only mini-boss I fucking hate are these things, the Phantoms. They're like the millennia of the game. They're super fast, hit super hard, and worst of all, steal your health. These guys fucking suck! Probably the most interesting boss in the game to me is Scylla and the Sirens, a band playing for the tormented spirits in Oceanus. In whichever member of the band you take out first, their instrument in the song they play during the fight get cut out. It's very interesting, something I don't recall ever experiencing in another game where your actions affect the in-game music like this. Aside from fighting hordes of monsters and bosses, do lie other breaks in between, like digging up seeds that you can use to plant in the crossroads, and when you return may blossom into essential ingredients you'll harvest. The fishing minigame that was also in the first game is here, as well as compelling spirits to regroup at the crossroads. To make these activities much easier, you can unlock and bring an animal companion familiar with you to automatically bypass them. The frog can calm the souls, and the cat can catch the fish. Possibly the biggest improvement this game has made is the prophecy system, which tells you not only what boons or upgrades you have yet to collect for the first time, but also shows you during gameplay which ones you need to collect to fulfill the prophecy by adding scroll markers next to them. It's a very welcome change that makes the completionist parts of this game much easier to keep track of than before. Similar to the added challenges of Hades 1, there are these vows of testaments that unlock after beating a run for the first time, which add interesting changes to future runs, making them harder yet more rewarding. There are also these Chaos Trial runs. They only include one level, but the layout and playstyles are fixed. I found most of these to be fairly easy though. I was hoping they'd be just a little harder. Okay, so look, even though I do believe this to be one of, if not maybe even the best video game sequel of all time, I still have a few tiny gameplay nitpicks here and there. First off, I found the surface levels to be a bit too easy by the time I conquered the underworld and I've leveled up a lot. I even made it to the last boss of the surface realm my first try. Granted, that fight did take me quite a few times after, but I was at least hoping that this half of the game would scale higher than the base Underworld's difficulty. I also found a boon from Ares that, at least when combined with the God mode, sort of makes it impossible to die, where you can replenish your health back up to 40 just by attacking. I do think they should nerf that boon a little and make it a little less overpowered. Sometimes having the power to alter the boon reward in the next room does nothing. It just changes to the same boon. Okay, wow. Thanks a lot, RNG. Lastly, you can stunlock some enemies to death after stripping them of their armor. I mean, come on, look at this silly shit. Nerf this too, please. And that is literally it. The few bad things I have to say about this game are all things that can easily be tweaked out in future patches. There's nothing I found to be inherently wrong or even buggy in the over 40 hours I played in this game. Even on the outdated Nintendo Switch 1, I did not regret a single second of it. To sum up this review, Hades 2 is easily among the most impressive sequels I've ever played, one of the most enjoyable action games I've ever played, and honestly, the most consistently outstanding game I've played all year. And so, my final score for Hades 2 has to be a 10 out of 10. I really think it lived up to the legacy of the first game and actually eclipsed it in many ways. Now, do I still think that Hades 1 is a little bit better overall? Probably, yes. But maybe that's only because it was the first of its kind for me. It holds a special place in my heart. You know what I mean? But saying that Hades 2 is worse than Hades 1 is like arguing that The Godfather Part 2 is slightly worse than The Godfather Part 1. But who cares? They're both masterpieces, they're both 10s, and you should definitely play them both. I am just amazed at how well Supergiant Games has developed this. I'm not even done playing it. I will continue to play both these games actually in the coming years on my free time. I love this series. I love it so much. They're by far my favorite roguelike games. This is coming from someone who also loves Blue Prince, which came out earlier this year. Hades 2 is better. Now, people are going to be wondering, well, Darian, how is this your game of the year? Didn't you also give Clair Obscur Expedition 33 a 10 out of 10? At the time, yes, I did. But the last time I tried playing that game, which was the last time I had Game Pass, I enjoyed it a lot less than I did when I had just finished it back in May. I'm sorry that this is turning into an Expedition 33 video, but I just wanted to kind of give you an update on Expedition 33. I don't love it as much as I did when I stopped playing it back in May. When I returned to it, I hate Act 3. I hate how everything is like astronomically harder than in the previous two acts. I hate that there's no fucking mini-map. For a group that is called an expedition, it doesn't really feel much like an expedition. And looking back, I also don't like the change of the protagonist, how they instantly made you play as someone that you don't really know, and that was kind of bullshit. Overall, I would drop the review score for Expedition 33 down to a 9 out of 10. I still think it's a really, really great game, but I don't really consider it Game of the Year anymore. There were a couple games that I played since then that I enjoyed more. So yeah, Hades 2 is my personal favorite game of the year, unless something else super surprising comes out at the end of the year that like blows me away or blows someone else away. I don't know. I doubt it. I am 99% certain this is my game of the year. Spoiler alert for my Game Awards in December. So yeah, guys, that's it. Stay tuned. I should have a Halloween special at some point at the end of the year. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Don't expect me to put out more than this.